Black Americans that fascism in the United States has a long, long history. When we say there's freedom of speech or freedom of assembly, freedom of speech for who? Freedom of assembly for who? We can look through the history, and we all know this. We know the history of slavery, we know the history of Jim Crow, we know what happened during the Civil Rights Movement. Right, in the antebellum South, slaves weren't allowed to congregate because slave owners were afraid that slaves would gather together and resist and rebel and escape. During the Jim Crow period, people were lynched in order to terrify the community from having their right to vote. So people fled. People fled in mass to the north and to the west, to our state here in California. And what did they find? They found more racism and more oppression, right? The speaker from earlier mentioned what happened with the Panthers. The Panthers were infiltrated from within. Their organization was spied upon, people were jailed, people were murdered. And to this day, activists are getting murdered, activists are getting jailed. Why does this happen? Right? What were the high crimes of the Panthers? They were feeding people and they were organizing self-defense. There has never existed in America, for Black Americans, in which civil rights are guaranteed. They have always needed to be fought for. There has always been fascist terrorism that tries to scare dissenters into shutting up and staying down. When our comrades were arrested in Denver, it was actually our Black comrade who was arrested by a decked out SWAT team, and they particularly targeted him. The state was trying to send a message. You're shaking things up too much. You better watch out. You don't get to challenge us in this way. You see, slavery, racism, Black oppression, they are so rooted into the American system that they know that Black liberation is only possible one way. And that's through tearing down the entire system. Black liberation is revolution, and revolution is Black liberation. We cannot separate the two. So we all have friends, we have coworkers that know about this movement, and they ask themselves, why does it matter to me? I don't really care. And earlier I asked, freedom of speech for who, right? Because most of the time we enjoy freedom of speech. But that's not always true. Because there's actually somewhere where we spend the majority of our lives where none of us have the freedom of speech. And that's in the workplace. We don't have the freedom of speech when we want to form a union and the boss can fire us because we said we wanted a union. We don't have freedom of speech in the workplace when we want to put on a Black Lives Matter pin or say Black Lives Matter, and the boss has the right to fire us for bringing politics into the workplace. Even though that politics...
He was waving. Did you see that cop waving?
What did y'all say?
Jeez.
Right, so in all of our workplaces, we actually experience the same oppression. And so we have to fight together because we're fighting against a common oppressor, the capitalist class. They're the reasons why people die in the streets every single day, every single week, and nothing is done about it. Because they are the ones who hold power. And let me tell you, the oppression that we see with our comrades, we shouldn't expect that this is going to be the end of it, right? Things might get harder as we continue to challenge the system. We may see more and more political oppression. They want us to be afraid. And Black people are going to continue to get murdered without reason by the police, unfortunately. But the repression that we see is a sign. It's a sign that we've challenged them. It's a sign that they're afraid. They're afraid because we have more power than they do. So today, we have to get organized. We have to be ready to fight, and we have to be deeply invested in the liberation of every oppressed and marginalized community, and we have to be ready to win. So when I say, when we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. Thank you.
Jonathan, for those inspiring words. Jonathan gave us a really quick rundown about the history of police repression, of COINTELPRO, of all the people who came before us. I think we need to understand that in this uprising in the past couple of months, it has been mainly the youth which have led that uprising. We have poured onto the streets. But we can't be self-centered. We must understand that before us, there were many more people who experienced the exact same type of oppression, who in times when it wasn't popular to come out on the streets, did the hard work of organizing, making sure that a foundation was set, a culture was set, in which where we all can come out to the street and push the narrative further, push for more progressive ideas. And the next speaker we have is someone who's been in the movement for a very long time, someone who understands police repression, someone who lived through that COINTELPRO era, someone who is a founding member of the Party for Socialism and Liberation. I'd like to proudly introduce Preston Wood, a founding member of the PSL. Please welcome Preston.
Hello everybody, thank you Ernesto. I wanted to just open up by saying yes, what we are seeing now, it may look scary, the KKK and all these like fascists getting all this media and all this support from the Trump administration. But what's really scaring them is the unity that's been unfolding in the streets by millions of people. Yes, it is a youth-led revolt. It is leaders for tomorrow, for everything that's coming, and the revolutionary struggles ahead. And we can feel confident and proud of our black sisters and brothers who have shown so much leadership and resolve, have set an example of struggle in spite of all the brutality and murder and racist actions by the police. We are stronger than they are. We are powerful. And we're going to, as other comrades have said, we're going to free our comrades and friends in Denver, and we're going to free the streets in Los Angeles, New York, Portland, Oregon, wherever you name it, cities big and small. The working class is coming alive. We're on the verge of a period of struggle, intensified struggle, with more and more people coming to our ranks of our party, but into other organizations as well. And we salute that. We support that. We're done with sectarianism and people fighting over nothing. We have to unite and target the enemy for what they are. Murderous agents of the ruling elite, the billionaire class, who delight in sowing discord and division in our ranks. We cannot let that happen, and we will not. For those of us who are older, we see the failures that happened as well as the successes in the 60s and the 70s, and we see that we have moved, we have deepened our relationship as working class people, as the servants of the rich, being ripped off, being laid off, our children being denied. We are not going to stand still, we're going to keep growing, and I salute every one of you. It's such a moment of pride, seeing this outpouring of resistance and revolutionary optimism and militancy and anti-racism in favor of unity of all the working class who have the ability to run society without the parasites who have gotten control of everything. We have to take it back. We need a workers' government. We need a government. We can do it too. We're the ones in all these offices doing everything. They're not. They're playing golf or whatever it is they do, trying to plot against us. But what's going on in Denver, that's happening in so many cities, is this coalescence of people coming out and fighting. It used to be the major cities where you would see the big demonstrations. Now they're happening all over the place, because everyone, wherever you are, you have to be aware of watching your back, not to lose your home, not to lose your children, not to lose your relatives, your families, your neighbors, your co-workers. Together we're going to unite, we're going to fight, and we're going to win. Trust me, we're going to win. We're going to win the struggle. The working class will prevail. You'll see. Thank you.
police.
The racist
Police.
Say his name, Elijah McClain. Say his name.
Elijah McClain.
Say his name.
Elijah McClain.
Say his name.
Elijah McClain.
Say his name.
Elijah McClain.
Say his name.
Elijah McClain.
Say his name.
Elijah McClain.
Say his name.
Elijah McClain.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
And if we don't get it,
Shut it
if
down.
we don't get it,
Shut it down.
if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
and if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
the people united,
We'll never be defeated.
the people
United. We'll never be defeated.
the people
United. We'll never be defeated.
the people united.
We'll never be defeated.
Thank you, Preston, for those inspiring words. I don't know about you, but every time I see someone who's been in the movement for a long time, someone who's been struggling for so long, talking to young people, telling us that we will win, that if we fight, we will win, if we're united, if we put all our differences behind and unite around the one thing that unites us in this society, the fact that we are ordinary, oppressed, working class people, then we will win. Because that's the only thing we have. The fact that we make society run. And it's about time we run society. Now, I want to introduce another speaker, someone who's also been a leader in the current moment, an organizer with Black Lives Matter Los Angeles. Please welcome Joseph.
What's up, y'all? How we doing? Black lives, they matter here.
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 Shade, absolutely. So, my name is Joseph. I'm with Black Lives Matter Los Angeles. And I'm here because it's our duty to be here. I'm here in solidarity with PSL because PSL continues to be in solidarity with the black liberation struggle, right? Not just here in Los Angeles where our folks are constantly showing up, not just showing up but supporting the black liberation movement in Los Angeles, right? But in Denver as well and across the country as well, right? And so we're seeing just the same way as folks in black organizations like BLM are being criminalized, folks who show up from PSL, folks who've shown up with no organization are being criminalized as well, right? Because they want to make us afraid. They want to make us afraid. They want to silence us. Those of us who are raising our voices right now, who are using our voices and our bodies to demand change, scares the shit out of them. Scares the shit out of them. Right? Our folks are coming on with their voices and their signs and are being responded and met with lethal weapons in some cases, riot gear, right? Because our resistance, even if it is just our voices and our bodies, is a threat to this system. Our resistance is a threat to the ruling class. Our resistance is a threat to the way things are, to the status quo. Right? That's why they're criminalizing protests. To make us afraid. To make us stop fighting back. To make us stop standing up. To make us stop using our voices. And so that's why it was important for me to be here today. That's why it's important for Black Lives Matter to be in solidarity with folks who are in the streets getting brutalized and criminalized while they're out here protesting for change. Ashe? So, here with our family, because folks who are using right now their voices, their bodies, their lives to call out injustice, to demand change. Y'all are my family. Y'all are my people. So an attack, right, just like the labor movement says, an injury to one is an injury to all, and an attack on one of our brothers or sisters or siblings who are in these streets is an attack on us. Right? Because the goal of these attacks, the goal of this repression is to scare us, is to silence us, is to make folks go back into their homes after all these months in the streets thinking, damn, nothing changed. Nothing happened, our voices don't matter. Some folks got arrested, some folks got brutalized, but nothing changed. Are we gonna let that happen?
No!
Hell no! Hell no!
Hell no!
Hell no!
Hell no!
Because at the very same time, our continued resistance, our continued willingness to show up, our continued willingness to raise our voices, to demand change, this is the shit that is inspiring, right, our brothers and sisters and siblings to get into the struggle. If we stop now, right, because a few folks got arrested or brutalized, right, what have we won? Nothing. We can't stop yet. We absolutely can't stop. Like our brother said, he's been fighting for decades, right? And his fight is a victory. The fact that we still have the will to resist is a victory. The fact that this year, right, more folks have protested and demanded justice and demanded change than at any time, almost probably in human history, right? That is a victory. But it's not the only victory. It's not the ultimate victory, right? Because the victory that we're fighting for, the victory that we're demanding, is the reorganization of this society, right? It's a society that doesn't continue to profit off of exploitation and murder and abuse, not just of our folks here, but of folks around the world, right? So it is hugely important for us to continue to be in these streets, continue to be lifting our voices, continue to be in solidarity with our folks who are being criminalized and who are under attack, right? Because this is the generation on the forefathers, on the shoulders, right, of our forefathers and our elders in this movement. This is the generation that has a chance to make a real fucking change. We have a chance to translate these yells and these emotions and these messages on these signs into real changes, right? We're doing that with the organizing work. We're doing that with all the mutual aid networks that have popped up in LA to respond to the coronavirus pandemic, right? We're doing that with the way folks are showing up in the streets, with the way folks are organizing like they've never organized, right? So it's imperative that we continue. It's imperative that we stay in the streets. It's imperative that we, especially those of us who have been out here, right? We can't get tired. We can't stop, right? Hell no!
Hell no!
Hell no!
Hell no!
Hell no!
Hell no!
It's imperative that we continue to fight. In BLM, we say it is our duty to fight for freedom. It is our duty to win. It is our duty to win. It is our duty to win. Right?
Yes.
And so we know that our brothers and sisters and siblings in Denver who have been criminalized, and our folks who have been criminalized here fighting for Dijon disease, right? In South Central, we know that these folks are battling for our victory, are fighting for our victory, for our victory, for all of our victory, right? So we have to know that when there's an attack against them, they're attacking this victory, they're attacking this future, this vision, this world that we're trying to build, right? And so I'm so grateful for PSL, for continuing to be in the streets, for continuing to do the work in between, for continuing to have the important conversations, to organize new folks, to bring new folks into this movement, because that's what we've all got to do. It is our duty to fight for freedom. It is our duty to win, right? And so I'm blessed to be here with y'all and to help uplift this issue and to demand justice and change, not just for the 4 folks who have been arrested or the countless folks who have been murdered by the state, but for all of us, right? For all people. So I appreciate y'all continuing to do this work, continuing to uplift that, continuing to be on these stoops, right? So that we can get this message out there, because this shit matters. This shit matters. Your presence, your voice, it matters. It is contributing to changing the fucking world. And not in a like weak fairy tale kind of way. In the everyday, difficult ass, grinded out way that it's going to take for us to actually win. Right? So, we're continuing to demand justice, like I said, here in LA, for Dejan Kazee, for Andres Guardado, for Anthony McClain, and for over 620 folks who have been murdered by law enforcement in the last 7 years alone. And beyond that, we're demanding justice for all of our communities, which is a reorganization of this society, which doesn't allow black folks to be murdered in the streets like that, which doesn't allow indigenous children and immigrant children to be separated from their families. Fuck that! Fuck that! Fuck that!
Fuck that!
Fuck that!
Fuck that!
So our presence here, our voices, these are a promise and a call to action. So continue, PSL, to lift up that call to action. Continue to inspire and to bring folks and to educate folks into this movement. And we with BLM LA will continue to be in solidarity with y'all. Appreciate y'all.
Black lives, they matter here.
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 Killer cops off our streets. Killer cops
Off our streets.
Killer cops
Off our streets.
Killer cops
Off our streets.
Killer cops
Off our streets.
Killer cops
Off our streets.
Killer cops
Off our streets.
Killer cops.
Off our streets.
Thank you, Joseph. I was having a little bit of trouble thinking about how to introduce Joseph and Black Lives Matter. I think you all know how important Black Lives Matter is on a national stage as an organization. Can we please get a round of applause for BLM and their struggle? I want to do something which hasn't been said already. I want to talk specifics about those 4 comrades who were arrested. One in particular stands out. Her name is Lillian House. She's an organizer in Denver, and she was charged with multiple felonies. The main one being kidnapping. An unarmed protester is charged with kidnapping 18 armed officers. Why? Because she and her other comrades organized a sit-in front of a police station. A sit-in in front of a police station is now seen as kidnapping. Of course, the police could have walked through the back. The police could have gone out anyway. The police are the ones with the tear gas with the batons. But somehow it was the protesters. Somehow it was Lillian. Somehow it was Joel. Somehow it was Eliza. Somehow it was Russell who were the kidnappers. It's hilarious because the kidnappers in society today are now protesters. This country was founded on kidnapping. It was founded on kidnapping and enslavement. This country sustains itself from the kidnapping of our wealth. From the real kidnappers are on Wall Street, let's be real. The real kidnappers are in Washington, D.C. They're in LAPD. They're in the Sheriff's Department, the Sheriff's Station in South Central. The ones who murdered Dejan Kazee, who murdered A.J. Weber, who murdered Andres Guardado. Those are the real kidnappers in society, not the people who are trying to change society. need to understand that. And I also want to bring home one final important point. The fact that if Joel, if Eliza, if Lillian, if Russell, if none of them were part of an organization, would any of us be here today? If they weren't part of an organization, a national organization that had their back, and even though they're over there in Denver, over here in Los Angeles, their comrades here are willing to take the streets to tell the people, get the media out here, that this is a fundamental violation of our rights. Doesn't matter whether it's in Denver or if it's in Los Angeles, it affects us all. If they weren't part of an organization, they would be like the hundreds of other protesters who have been arrested during this uprising. I don't know how many of you have been to a protest. I don't know how many of you are part of an organization or have been around organizations. But maybe it might surprise you that we in the red shirts say comrade instead of friend or acquaintance or co-worker or whatever. Oh, by the way, we don't get paid for this. But the reason we say comrade, yes, we are communists. The reason we say comrade is because comrade is a point of political being. It means that Preston is accountable to me. It means I'm accountable to every other red shirt here. I know that if I'm in trouble, if the police are at my door, if the officers are at my door with their SWAT team, or if they take me down at Home Depot, or if they take me down while I'm driving like they did to the comrades in Denver, I know that my comrades in New York, in Rochester, in Los Angeles, and wherever the hell the PSL is, which is every state in the country, that they will be standing up, they will be organizing their own protests, they will get the other organizations in the movement to stand up. That is what it means to be a comrade. That is what it means to be a member of the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Not just to stand up and fight for justice when it's popular or when it's unpopular. It's to say that we are all in this together, and that those of us who want to commit our lives to fighting for justice, that you're not alone, that there are a number of us who are willing to be there for you. That is what it means to be a PSL member, and that is why I'm proud to be a PSL member. And as we end today, I want to give one final thank you to all the different organizations that came out here, many of which could not make it out today, but gave their stunning endorsement. And of course, all the many organizations outside of the United States who are calling for the freedom of the political prisoners. But let me just name off some of the local ones. Of course, BLM, but also BLM Pasadena, the Church Without Walls, MLK Coalition of Greater Los Angeles, Veterans for Peace, KMB, Pro People Youth, the Answer Coalition, and Creating Justice LA. Let's give a round warm of applause for that coalition. Before you all leave here today, I want to make sure you all stay connected. It's about organization. We'll win if we're united, if we're strategic and tactical. Please join an organization. We have sign-ups over there at that table. The man's raising his hand right there. Please sign up and get involved. Everyone has a role and a place in this movement. No matter where you are, no matter what political level you are, the only thing that matters is that if you are willing to fight for what is right. So, thank you everyone for being here and have a great evening. Thank you.
Do be sure to grab a shirt, man.
I posted it on Instagram and tagged you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
I wish I had cash. They take Venmo. Oh, they do? How much a shirt? The tank top was $15. And then, how much are the normal t-shirts?